want to expect more from a lineup like Vitality.
More refined and a more better understanding Vitality of where they want to go in the game.
Okay guys, are you ready?
This is really good teamwork from H2K, not leaving any man face-checking on his own.
This should be the final fight. Knight gets turned into a munchkin. Not even exhaust can stop the damage from coming down. Sartorius is dead. The inhibitor as well. The Nexus Stone is the focus. Giants are one step closer to the summer split.
LCS 2017 spring split with only 5 days of competition left in the regular season. Things are getting a little feisty on the Rift. Feisty is what I meant to say, not feisty. That was hard. One spot remains in both the playoffs and in the promotion tournament. Earlier today, you see Vitality taking to the stage. They're drinking water. Water's an important part of your daily diet.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, mate. Feisty.
Not feisty. I don't know. Well, all right, we're bringing it back. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Daniel Dracos, and joining me at the desk is Martin Deficio Lunga, and hopefully his English is a little better than mine today because
Probably
I am
not, mate.
clearly struggling here.
It's a bit of a problem for me, so I am not going to be the savior here.
And maybe that's good. Maybe we're both on the same level. We're basically wearing matching outfits. It feels good.
It was so close. Honestly, we both had blue shirts, and then I was told to change. Sadly, blame the producer, not us.
Yeah, now we got the red versus blue thing going on. Well, this week we've been looking at expectations versus reality. Yesterday, the Unicorns of Love did as expected, wiping the floor with Origin 2-0 and extending their lead in Group B. But over in Group A, the Rocket momentum train just keeps on chugging as they hashtag set the rules against Misfits, taking out that 2-0.
Yeah, the Rocket Pain train going full speed right now. Yesterday's games, you know, I was lucky enough to cast them with Pyra, and it was honestly one of the best series I've seen from Rocket ever. And game 2 in this series was one of the best games I've seen all split long here in Europe. Like, there were some clean play from Rocket, like good macro, I like the draft, even the Kassadin. You know, I asked the coach about the Kassadin, he was like, yeah, we saw Spice played yesterday, so we just picked it. I'm like, all right, go Europe. But it worked out. Bessie played it really well.
You said this is the best game you've seen from Rocket. Are you referring to ever from the organization, or are you just referring to this season?
I mean, I can't remember every Rocket game I've watched. You know, there was the Yankers lineup a few years back that played some really good stuff, and there was the old full Polish one with Overpower as well. That was really cool. So maybe I won't go that far, but I think it was one of the best series I've seen Rocket play, and I can say that one for sure because it was such a clean series.
Definitely clean. Coming in against Misfits as well was especially impressive. However, 2 matches remain to close out the week. Later, Fnatic will be fighting for an all-important win over Giants. This one's pretty big, Deficio.
It's huge. It's so huge. If Fnatic loses, you know, they don't have that playoff spot already. If they lose to fall further behind Rocket, Giants might even try and catch them and potentially put them down.
Yeah, one thing we have to be aware of is that if Giants are able to pick up, or if Fnatic are able to pick up a single win, it will lock Giants into the promotion tournament. However, if Giants find a 2-0, keep the ball rolling, there's a possibility to knock Fnatic even further down, which is crazy.
Because we have to remember, Fnatic next week are playing Misfits and G2, so you can't expect them to pick up a lot of wins outside of this one series.
Yeah, so big story for our second series today. However, focusing in on our first series tonight is H2K versus Vitality. And while we still consider H2K one of the big European top teams, their 0-2 loss to the Unicorns last week might mean a little more than it seems.
Yeah, because now H2K don't sit as the #1 seed in Group B. Unicorns of Love is sitting up there. And if Unicorns of Love just make sure to win the remaining games, they will lock in that playoff bye. So that simply means that H2K will lose out on an extra week of prep going into playoffs, and they're no longer guaranteed not playing G2 before a final. So you might once again have an H2K season where the semi-final is where it all ends. But still, there's a lot of games to be played, also a best of 5 in playoffs. I still believe this H2K lineup will be one of the best.
Of course, we did hear kind of from the team, from Ottawamne. We've talked to Prawley as well earlier today about the team and what they're working on and what they're focusing on.
Yeah.
And it seems like there's still some very clear issues for them to approach before they move into playoffs.
I mean, it's just hard because, you know, Ottawamne talked about how their play style is very focused around always making the correct play. Don't take the 50-50, take the 80-20 instead. But it's not always you get those opportunities, especially if the other team is playing like very aggressive, very fast-paced. That's what Unicorns did. You know, we saw Chachi between two towers going for these one-for-one trades, even when he got ganked. And if you're trying to always play the clean game and you face that kind of opposition, it can be difficult. And that's where I feel like the shot calling and the mindset, the discipline, it's still lacking a little bit for H2K when stuff is going wrong in-game and when they have to adapt on the fly. And that's something Probably talks a lot about as well.
And it's rough, too, when you look towards playoffs, because G2 have kind of been ramping up the aggression, even though it was a little bit lower. And we've also got Unicorns, of course, making to the playoffs, a team that you will eventually have to fight if you want to win the split, potentially. So you need to be ready for those teams that kind of adapt.
100%.
But we turn our focus to the other side of the ref. We're going up against Vitality. Vitality locked in 4th currently in Group B. So what is Vitality playing for in this series at this point?
Well, technically, they're not really playing for anything. You said it yourself, you know, sitting in that 4th place. Steelback said last week in the interview that now it's all about preparing for summer split. And they have quite a lot of time. We don't even know if it's going to be exactly the same roster right now. I don't think they know either. So I kind of feel like it's just like individually, you want to just show up. Because you want to obviously leave a good mark when it comes to like your name and your reputation after the split ends. And I guess if you're Vitality, like, yes, you are building towards the summer split, but H2K is most likely too tough of an opponent for them to kind of show growth. Maybe curveballs, I'm not sure. I think this is the kind of game where you want to see if Vitality can bite back, but at the same time, you also want to see if H2K can really play like a perfect game.
Now, before we send it over to get the series started, I want to look back at their series versus Splice, because H2K will have to play against Splice soon, and I'm wondering if we can kind of transitive property this. If H2K are slower to beat Vitality than Splice,
I hate those.
Splice won it so quickly. Splice won it so confidently.
Yes.
So if H2K stumble here, does that kind of set a precedent for the upcoming match that H2K will play against Splice?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Like, it's completely different matches. You know, whenever you face Splice and prepare for Splice, it'll be way different compared to preparing for Vitality. Maybe player focus is also a thing because they're playing against a much weaker team. I think H2K is just going to go in, look for that 2-0 as fast as possible, for sure. But then also just start preparing for next week, because when they play Splice, if they win that series, they're guaranteed that 2nd place, and then they've done their job.
All right, well, we'll have to see how it develops. H2K need this win to help keep their spring split finals dreams alive. So let's send it over to the casters to see how